The goals in the NSL keep making noise, and guess what? So do Canada's stars abroad. A major Serie A club has its eyes on Jonathan David. Olivia Smith continues to shine in England, earning Liverpool's Player of the Year. And in the NSL, one team nearly reigned on the undefeated Montreal Roses parade. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Andi Petrillo with you. We are breaking all of this down for you. And of course, I am joined to help me with all of this is former Canadian national team player, soccer analyst, and co-host of the Footy Prime podcast, Ms. Amy Walsh. How are we doing today?
I'm good, Andi. How about you?
Fantastic. And you know what? I love talking about the transfer rumor buzz when it comes to Jonathan David because, it's only been 3 years that we've been doing this. But here's the thing. When Fabrizio Romano puts out a tweet, that's when you start to raise eyebrows and pay attention. So Fabrizio Romano, a great soccer insider, put out that Napoli have in fact submitted a proposal to Jonathan David with advanced talks ongoing for a free transfer. And Amy, we know that the reason why we've been keeping an eye on Jonathan David is because he's killed it at Lille. Right? He's been up there even when, Mbappe and even when Messi were part of Ligue 1, he was right up there in goal scoring with them, has won a league title, continues to do excellent things with the national team. So a lot of fans want to see him move to a bigger club. So when you hear about these types of talks, what do you think of him maybe possibly going to Serie A?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say Napoli the way that you say it because I'm not from there, but I
What would you say?
respect it.
Naples.
Napoli, Naples, Napolo, I don't know, something like that. But I think Syria, Inter Milan, who've just booked their spot to the Champions League final, also been linked with them. AC Milan in the past, Juve. So, at this point, though, what team has Jonathan David not been linked with? Right? And then with this special transfer window or porthole, as my friend Rian Wilkinson referred to it, that's been added before this expanded FIFA Club World Cup, we might see Jonathan David make his move there to help one of these teams who are involved. So whether it's Serie A or him talking about La Liga and Barcelona, his childhood favorite club, I think he's going to flex his muscles wherever he ends up, wherever he lands. But I'm a Liverpool fan. Darwin Núñez has been linked with Liverpool, or obviously he's a Liverpool striker. He's been linked with Napoli as well, allegedly around £50 million. So if he makes the move there, he hasn't really fit into Arne Slot's plan at Liverpool. I would love to see John David not only in a Premier League, but playing for my favorite club in Liverpool. But I think I mentioned flexing muscles. But this is something that's changing the perception, changing what people think of Canadian footballers. And Jonathan David is leading the charge in that regard with these players playing in Tier 1 setups and one of the best strikers in the world right now. So I think where he's landing, will it be a compliment to the style that they're playing with Jesse Marsch? Or will it be something that's entirely different, and that's just adding to his toolkit as he moves into his prime? Because when you look at it, he's maybe even not there yet. So, but what's important to me is wherever he ends up, that he's playing meaningful minutes. So that is, this team gets closer, I think 5 FIFA windows before next year's FIFA World Cup that Canada is co-hosting. They need, and Jesse Marsch needs, Canada needs Jonathan David to be playing and starting. So that is the most important thing for me in terms of where he's headed.
We're going to continue to watch and see where Jonathan David goes because this is an incredible player that you want to see take that next step in his career. A player on the women's side who has taken that next step, obviously, has been Olivia Smith, and she's been dominating in her first season in the WSL with Liverpool, top scorer, named 4-time Player of the Month. She has been named Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year for Liverpool. And I guess the big one here, too, Amy, she's been nominated for WSL Player of the Year and Rising Star. Does Olivia Smith have what it takes to be the next face and superstar for the national team?
She does. And if she's not there yet, she's really, really close. But Olivia Smith is a game breaker, and that's what Jonathan David is. So you drop him into any league, any team, he is going to perform and be that elite level player no matter where he is. And Olivia Smith is the same in only her second pro season. So much the way Mo Salah, for her male counterparts at Liverpool, has performed. They've got the social media post with the Player of the Month, and it's multiple Mo's that are kind of added into the picture. She could also do the same, as you said, 4-time Player of the Month. and at only 20 years old. So for me, it's this unstoppable, unrelenting, the technical gifts that she has, and her ability to break a game wide open. We always knew that she was a special player, but again, it's going to places, going to the WSL, one of the best setups for professional women's soccer in the world, cutting her teeth, but then instantly being in the conversation amongst the very best, being in the same breath as Alicia Cuthbert, as an Aggie Beaver-Jones for Chelsea the year that she's had, and Alessia Russo. Like, Olivia Smith is right up there and commands that respect from the defenders that she strikes fear in, but also from opposing coaches, from her own teammates. So she's only going to continue to make strides. And she, to me, is a name that's going to be first on that team sheet for Casey Stoney. I mean, you obviously have your stalwarts, you have your Vanessa Gilles, you have your Caitlin Sheridans, you have your Janine Sonases and your Ashley Lawrences, Jessie Fleming as the captain. But in that same breath again, has to be Olivia Smith, because for a team that's starved of goals, this is somebody that's going to be heavily relied upon to produce. So this same kind of undeterred, unrelenting energy, whether she's going 1v1 and she's getting to goal in the myriad of ways that she can hurt teams, that has to be translated to the international stage. But I think it's just ripe for the picking for Olivia Smith at this point. And so we're looking ahead and projecting to a year right now where there's no competition for this women's national team. It's going to be Olivia Smith's time to shine by the time that this Canadian women's national team is competing against the heavyweights in CONCACAF, like the United States, where she's going to be a player that's heavily marked.
All right. Well, this is somebody we obviously expect to be pretty much a mainstay on the national team, which means seeing her in the next World Cup as well. And it's big news from FIFA because they just announced that the Women's World Cup will, in fact, expand to 48 teams starting in 2031, bringing it on par with the men's format. USA will be set to host. And we know that this could be a game changer, right? Like how... And I know there are pros and cons because I know there are purists who feel like it should be really hard to make the World Cup, right? The team pool, like it should be small. If you open it up too much, are you diluting? We're not here to have that conversation, right? We're here to have a different conversation was just, what does this mean, the impact globally for the competition and the growth of women's soccer?
I think that's the important thing to underline here, that is targeting the growth, especially in countries where you don't have the support. You might have the cultural barriers to women even participating in soccer. So the influx and the investment in the game hasn't been there, hasn't existed. There's no infrastructure for it. So this injection, this expansion of teams will hopefully lead to more investment in the grassroots level, and then maybe the parity will come. My fear is, again, the same fear that we had for the Women's World Cup in 2023 when they expanded from 24 to 32 teams, was where we're going to see more 13-0 matches and teams being embarrassed on the pitch and worried about teams celebrating and controlling on policing that a little bit. And what I think we were surprised, I think pleasantly, by the parity within the tournament because the coaching was more sophisticated. You had players who were playing more and more in professional setups day in and day out. You have an increase in scouting and player pool. So the playing field was relatively even. But now if you expand to 48, I think you probably get that. You get the investment, but it might take another cycle yet until we see full or true parity. But what I'm also concerned about, Andi, just to add to the end here, is are there safe sport practices and mechanisms to protect players and making sure that player welfare is at the forefront? Our own women's national team funding pulled 6 months in advance of that World Cup. The Nigerian women's national team unpaid by their federation. Accusations of sexual assault by the Zimbabwe national team coach. So can we protect the players, support them, and then ensure that the growth is happening both at the grassroots level, but at the international level with their national federations?
All right, let's come closer to home here and talk NSL. Busy week. Toronto, Vancouver battle to a 1-1 draw. Halifax tied, Amy. They earned their first ever point. It was a gritty 0-0 draw against Montreal. Not a shabby team here. Calgary, Ottawa, also 0-0. What stood out to you most this week in the NSL?
Well, Mother's Day celebration. So the last of the inaugural home matches. So Calgary was there and they had about 9,000 people at McMahon Stadium. But I got a chance to take in the Montreal Roses Halifax Tide matchup, and for once I wasn't covering it, so I got to enjoy it as a fan. But the Halifax Tides, I was worried early on about their depth of squad. They are only on 3 matches, same as the Ottawa Rapid. Most other teams have played 4. So Montreal Roses top of the table with 10 points, but a really comprehensive, resolute performance by the Halifax Tides. And standouts to me were Nakamura, who created some chances really late, tested goalkeeper Gabrielle Lambert, and Karima Lemire, who snuffed out every opportunity that Latifa Abdu, who has been electric for the Roses so far. Well, she was neutralized by a really heady performance by Karima Lemire, playing left back for the Halifax Tides.
All right. Well, Amy, we're going to talk a little bit more Halifax with a special guest who's joining us now. So, Amy, thanks so much. We'll check in with you another time.
Thanks, Andi.
So pleased to have on the show Marika Guay of the Halifax Tides. Thanks for taking the time. And you know what? It was a good weekend for you and your team because you became the first team to take points off Montreal this season, by the way. Tell me a little bit about that game and just how you were able to walk away with a point.
Yes, well, first, thank you for having me. It was an incredible game, an incredible feeling. I mean, this game had a special meaning for me because we played in Montreal, which is my home. So it was really nice to just go out there and play in front of my family, my friends, and like you said, like we were the first team to take away a point from them. Yeah, I think it says that like I said, we're ready to compete. We're here. We have grit. We have a bunch of very hardworking girls. Our group is tight and very connected. So I think we do have the potential to surprise teams and actually go get results, even at the moment we're at the bottom of the chart. But the season is very early on. There's still a lot of games to play. And like I think we wrote a statement, just the fact that we competed against Montreal, got the first result against them. So I think the future is bright for us. So very excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you mentioned some Canadians, some internationals, but also some players are just at different levels in their career as well. And you have somebody like Erin McLeod who brings a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience. What has it been like around her?
It's been amazing. We're so lucky to have her in the team. She's a role model for us. She also has a son with her wife. So it's been crazy to see how she can balance all the aspects of her life, but also, like you said, bring that leadership into the room. Whenever her and her wife comes in, you can feel that they have, like you said, a bunch of experience, a bunch of knowledge, and then everybody listen to them because like we respect them so much. So it's been a privilege to be with them, and they're humble people. They're awesome. It's been really nice.
Marika, you have been a pleasure to speak with. Good luck the rest of the way in the season.
Thank you so much.
You can catch Marika Guay and her Halifax Tides Saturday, May 17th as they host AFC Toronto, 1 p.m. Eastern. Other NSL games to keep an eye on: Thursday, May 15th, Ottawa Rapid FC takes on Vancouver Rise at 5 p.m. ET. That's streaming live on CBC Gem. And on Sunday, May 18th, it's Calgary Wild FC versus Montreal Roses. Kickoff goes at 3 p.m. Eastern. Before we go, let's give a big shout out to Canadian stars Ashley Lawrence and Kadisha Buchanan. Their Chelsea FC side has clinched another WSL title. Kadisha Buchanan still sidelined recovering from an ACL injury, but Ashley Lawrence actually assisted on the goal, which helped Chelsea clinch the title. And by the way, they did it in an undefeated season. First team in history to do so. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andi Petrillo. We'll see you next week as we break down all the biggest storylines in Canadian soccer.